guys, this is Loser here. I'm bringing you a deck tech about Blue-Red Eldrazi. I'm planning on running this through a standard league. I think that's what they call them now. Anyways, this is the first deck that I've bought or actually played in the last 4 years. Maybe not 4 years. I quit playing Magic during Avacyn Restored and just recently decided to get back into it. And the last time I played was actually the Avacyn Restored pre-release. So I decided to go ahead and net deck and pick up a deck and just give it a try and see if I still like it. And I figured why not record it, because first of all, I'm probably going to be really bad now since I haven't played in a really long time, and things are probably different since Magic's always changing a lot. But enough about that. So the deck I chose to play was Blue-Red Eldrazi. I love control decks, and it looked fun, like just casting a big Eldrazi. So, um, the deck list is pretty much the standard one. You have only a few basic islands, and then the rest of like every dual land available in blue-red. And then you got a bunch of, colorless lands that all do awesome things. So the Majoring Network is an all-star in this deck. Like, you just keep storing it up. It's like those storage lands from way back when, and it's just amazing. You can cast, you can just do so much just from this one card. And then this is a lot better than what I thought it would be in the deck after playing games with it, because I didn't realize, with the Void, you can use that to produce 2 mana for our Spell Shrivel, for Kozilek's Return, Spatial Contortion, although that's usually dead by the time you get around to it. Like, it works with so many cards in the deck that it's just nuts. And then this is the land that I'm the least impressed with, but it still does do some cool things. Like late in the game, you can always sack it for some chump blockers, and then you can always, after you throw them in front of the creature, then you sack it and put a charge counter on the Mage Ring. Those are really the highlights in the mana base. Well, aside from the 4 Wandering Fumaroles. It is awesome to have a blue-red manland. I'm really happy that they actually have manlands again, because those were awesome. And I like that they're in enemy colors. Anyways, so I can't remember where I got the original deck list from. I want to say it was a tcgplayer.com, like a measure of like a Star City Games Open or something like that. And the deck came in like 2nd or 3rd place, so I figured why not build it. Their list was a bit different than mine. I can't remember all the exact differences. I know there was a 4th Spell Shrivel in the main in their deck, which I traded that out for an extra Jace, because I thought that this kind of needs more draw cards, because as is, it doesn't really have a whole lot of ways to draw. I mean, it does, but you don't want to be doing them all the time. Like, Hedron Archive, most of the time you don't want to sacrifice it. So I figured an extra Jason here would just give it, that extra level of draw and extra stability to draw what you want with the Scry. And then the other card I added is Dragon Lord's Prerogative. And this card is insane. Like, this is a really good card, actually. A lot of people underrate it. I think it's because of the additional cost that you may reveal a dragon card from your hand. That people underrate it. They think that you have to have one, but you don't have to actually have a dragon card to play it. You just don't get the benefit of it being uncounterable. And it's an instant speed draw 4. I mean, yeah, it's 6 mana, but it's an instant speed draw 4. That's really good. Um, so this right here is the draw package of the deck. You got the 4 anticipates to help find things, and then your Jaces, and then that. I mean, and then the Hedron Archive also draws, but that's not what you're doing with it most of the time. Then, alright, so next we have the counter spells. 4 Clash of Wills, 3 Spell Shrivel. I like Spell Shrivel better personally, but I think in the format, it's more important to actually have 2 mana counter spells with the number of like aggressive-ish decks out there. Um, let's see. And then this is a RAM package. You know, the Drowner of Hope, a 5/5 body with the Eldrazi creatures. Spawns 2 of them. And then you can always sacrifice one of those creatures to tap down their creature instead of get mana for it if you want. The Hedron Archive I've already talked about. It's just like a ramp spell. And then, so here's your removal, and one of the spatial contortions is missing. There it is. Alright, so you have 2 Chandra Flamecallers. I would actually like there to be a third one in the deck if possible, but I really don't think the mana base can support it. I don't think there's enough red sources to really support it, because sometimes you are struggling to find red to get it. I mean, you have a bunch of red sources, but it's just weird because you have all these colorless lands that, for some reason, it seems like you don't end up with the red sources as much as you should. Then you have 4 Spatial Contortion, which is great. It's just, you know, a nice little thing to kill early threats. Or you can use 2 of them to get rid of an invincible threat. The other thing I want to say about Chandra, she's also one of your deck's primary win conditions. A lot of the times you're not going to cast Ulamog, you're just going to win from the 2 elemental creature tokens. And then her discard ability, it can actually be pretty relevant in this deck. Sometimes you just get a bunch of lands in your hand and you can just discard it, turn it all into gas, and go. And then Kozilek's Return is awesome. You know, it's not a very good Wrath, that's for sure, but an instant speed, 2 damage to all creatures is pretty good. And then the fact that when you do cast an Eldrazi, it does 7 damage, or not 7, it does 5 damage to all creatures instead. So it's just insane to have this in your graveyard and then cast. And then you'll have like a board full of the enemy's tokens or whatever that are all 4/4s, and you're dead next turn, and you cast your Ulamog and it just takes out the board, and then you exile whatever you want. And then Ulamog, of course, you know what you're trying to do with the deck. He's basically your win. His exile ability is probably his most important part. The indestructible 10/10 is nice, but a lot of the times, like, you don't really even need to attack with him. I mean, he also does exile the top 20 cards that are a library, but I don't know. He's a very good card, and especially for 10 mana, which is really nice. But yeah, so that's the main deck. The sideboard over here. So I have extra counter spells for the controlling matchups. The negates are just the hard counters for the non-creature matchups. The 4th spell Shrivel, I did put it in the sideboard because I thought it was important to have access to it, and you do bring it in often. There's another 2 Kozilek's Returns, just against all the decks that play tons of humans or Gideons, you know, things that make lots of 2/2 tokens. Then you have the Roast, which is pretty much for Sylvan Advocate. I think that's what it's called. It's a better way of dealing with threats than Spatial Contortion for the most part, just because Spatial Contortion only does up to 3 damage. And then Fiery Impulse is basically almost always a 3 damage to target creature spell in this deck. I think I've cast it one time so far. That it was a 2 damage to basic creature. So Fevered Visions, I don't really know what to make of it. I've cited it in a couple of times. I don't really know what matchup it's for, but it doesn't seem to do a whole lot for me. Like, so I think this could be swapped out for a different card potentially, but I wouldn't even know what that is. Um, I just haven't been very impressed with this card. Then we have Thought Not Seer, which I understand the reason why it's in the deck, to give you a little bit of hand control against your opponents. And it is an extra body, and it is colorless, so you can, take advantage of that. But I have yet to cite it in any of the matches. I originally did this deck tech video before I even played matches with the deck, just because I was going to just go into a standard event cold and see what happened. Never playing the deck and not playing for so long. And I did do that. I just had to remake the deck tech video because unfortunately I had some music in the background of it, and I didn't want the copyright infringement thing to happen because of the song that was you could barely hear in the background. Anyways, this is the deck. Since I have played it now, my overall opinion of it is actually a lot better than I originally thought it was. When I first started playing it, I thought it was not a very good deck at all, and I was wondering how somebody got second place. But as I got used to playing it and started understanding the interactions a little better, I've come to like it a lot, and I think it's actually a pretty good deck. Like I said, I don't know most of the decks in the format because I've just started playing again. But I was having a lot of fun playing it, and it's a very, I don't know, it's just a nice little deck to play, and it seems to do all right as long as you know how to play it. The biggest concern I've had with it is time because of all the interactions and the having to pay for mana separately and just the little interactions. I seem to almost time out every game, and it could also be that I'm just really slow at Magic Online because it looks so different from what it used to look like. I'm not really sure, but this is the deck. I would recommend playing it. It's actually pretty fun and pretty good. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching.